Hi, welcome to Dreams Recycled Expert Series. Today I am here with Jennifer Loud, who is a divorce attorney known as a secret divorce whisperer and the founder of Cherry Creek Law Group. So hi Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Tiffany?
I'm
not a secret divorce whisperer. I am a loud divorce whisperer. So I'm Jennifer Loud. Yes, it's not a secret. I don't want it to be a secret.
Oh, that's very cute though. I like that a lot. Okay, so we tried to do this before in Truth Transparency, and the last time we tried to record this, Jennifer was in a snowstorm and I was in a thunderstorm, and it didn't go very well. So fingers crossed today we get through the whole interview.
Weather's good here.
So welcome, Jennifer. So you are a divorce attorney who help people, like the people in our community. And your story is cool because you actually think that you are a better divorce attorney now since your own personal divorce. So can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think, I think divorce law is an area where it's really important that the attorney you work with understands what you're going through. And there are a lot of divorce attorneys, we really are called family law attorneys, but I like to say divorce attorney because I think that makes more sense to people. But it's everything around divorce, child support, alimony, custody, things after divorce. But in terms of if your attorney's gone through it themselves, they really, for me, I really understand what's going on from the beginning, because the very beginning is, it's all very tough, but trying to decide if you want to get a divorce is it's an emotional time that I think a lot of attorneys, if you haven't been through it, discard. And what I'm trying to get at is when you're deciding, if you're the person who is filing for divorce, when you're deciding whether or not this is the right thing, you go through in your own head all kinds of questions. Is this right for the kids? Is it better to stay married and wait until they're grown? Or does that make it worse for the kids? Mm-hmm. And then a lot of us, I would say almost everybody I talk to struggles with what their own parents think. So, here we are grown adults and we're worried about our own kids. And then we have these voices in the back of our head saying, this isn't, you shouldn't do this for your kids. And actually, they're not voices in the back of your head. Most of our parents have no problem telling us, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. So it's voices in the back of your head and actual voices out loud. So that can be a real struggle trying to figure out, and nobody can really give you the right advice because it is a very personal decision.
Well, it's really, really hard. And I get frustrated because people will say to me, oh, people, nowadays people just divorce on a whim.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody's divorcing on a whim.
Yeah, I've never met anyone who divorced on a whim. It's usually a year or two of that horrible internal struggle, and you're on the internet and you're looking for information, and maybe you're setting up appointments with a lawyer, trying to figure out what divorce will look like for you and your family.
Googling all night long, talking to people. Yeah.
It's very, very traumatic. And so I definitely agree with you. I think to have a divorce attorney who gets that struggle and understands that kind of pain and anguish that gets you to that place. And even if you're the one on the other end of the spectrum, the people that say, I woke up one day and got divorce papers, which is not really 100% true either, but yeah, it's still a struggle coming to terms with all of it. And
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I was going to talk about that piece too, but in terms of, you're absolutely right. One thing that you just said reminded me that there is this, I think one thing that bothers me is when people, not clients, but when you're just talking to people out in the world and they say, well, why did you get divorced? I think that is, now people don't mean that in any kind of a rude way, but you cannot sum up why you got divorced. Even if the reason is, infidelity or something that people, that the public can grab onto, that's not why. I mean, the why is, we're talking about interpersonal relationships in a family. So trying to sum that up into a bite-sized piece that somebody can understand is it's not possible. We're not, we're not the cover of, People magazine with, and I'm sure Angelina and Jolie, and Brad, they didn't, whatever we want to write into an article, that's not the full story. People are people. These are families. It's very emotional. So I find that a really difficult question.
Well, and we don't owe anyone an explanation, right? Ultimately, the only people that you owe explanations to are your spouse and your children.
Absolutely.
Even parents, even siblings, to, like you said, encapsulate 20 years of marriage or 10 years of marriage or whatever into one sentence reason on why you got divorced. It's not even possible. And usually it's long, slow demise of, like, say, interpersonal relationships and feeling unhappy and unfulfilled and unloved and whatever it is. And like I said, and nobody does it on a whim. And so I agree, you got to, like, stop with the divorce shaming, that kind of.
Absolutely. I have to cut you off because I think that's one of the most difficult things is, if you haven't been through it, you think, oh, well, one day you just decided, or your whole marriage, you've been unfulfilled. And no, we go back and forth. We all go back and forth. Am I unfulfilled? Is there something wrong with me? Am I supposed to do this somewhere else? Is this normal? Is this not normal? Should I be able to handle this? Am I, is this better for the kids? Is this not better for the kids? And like you said, with the divorce shaming, it is such a difficult decision to make. And I agree when people say, oh, well, everybody's just getting divorced so fast. It's very dismissive of your personal life. So I agree with you 100%.
So how do you think, although it would be kind of odd, but how do you think we can go about finding out how much experience, not in time, but in, like, personal experience, divorce attorneys might have? I mean, you're very open with your story, but I wonder if that's true of all divorce attorneys, if they go around and say, I was divorced, so I understand it. Maybe not.
Well, when I got divorced myself, I didn't represent myself because that's not a good idea. And I did interview a few divorce attorneys who I knew I respected in the community, but I wanted to see if they were good for me. And I found that people were pretty open about whether or not they had. And I didn't have a problem asking the attorney I'm interviewing. It's you're allowed to, they don't have to answer that question, but I think as long as you ask it in a pretty respectful way, and ask if you think there are pros and cons. I mean, I think that for some people, having an attorney who hasn't gone through it, they're much more able to, I guess, not take the emotional piece out, but just go, I don't know. Obviously, I think that your attorney's been divorced, you're in a better situation. But I do think, they spend a lot less time sort of talking through with the client. But I do think you can ask that question. But people are pretty open about it. You can usually find it in their bios and you can ask. However, it's such a personal fit, whether or not you get along with your divorce attorney and whether or not they're the right person. So I think if they don't bring it up and it's not a discussion you're having, even if they have been divorced, that might not be the right attorney anyway. Right. Maybe it's, and I have found even very, very alpha males who are not used to opening up that much are put at ease when I tell them that I've been divorced. And I think it's because it is so difficult, and you're in a meeting with an attorney and it feels very serious and it feels very scary. And I think for me, one of the things that I really try to do is put some human piece around it. It's not going to the bank and it's not investing stocks. It's we're talking about your family and your life. And another thing I'm sorry, Tiffany, one thing I did want to say is I think a lot of people think they're not supposed to go to a divorce attorney until they're 100% ready, and the day they go in, we're going to file for divorce. And I can say, even for me, being an attorney, going through my own struggle, hiring a divorce attorney who I knew already in town and knew I respected her, even given that situation, I met with her 3 different times over the course of a little over a year to just somewhat discuss it and I wasn't ready and I wasn't sure. So that's a completely normal thing as well. You don't have to kind of struggle through it on your own, wondering, and you don't have to assume that the day you walk in is the day you're ready to do something. So
Well,
I
and it
think
is,
that's important.
no, that's very important. And you bring up a good point. I mean, it's very much like dating, right? You might have to, you know, interview 3 or 4 attorneys, and you may have to meet with them multiple times to really know if they're going to be a good fit for you. Because not only is divorce not done on a whim, it's also very complicated and individual. And so,
Yeah.
and so being a divorce attorney who's been divorced, obviously you have that empathy piece, which is really important to many people. But even with that empathy piece, then it's like, you know, trying to find a puzzle that fits you and your persona, because we're all different.
Absolutely. You really, it is, you spend a lot of time working with your divorce attorney, and this person is, you know, is strategizing and helping you get what you want out of it. And I think it is equally important as anything else to make sure that you really click and get along with that person. It's just, you know, and I think that that piece is hard to wrap your finger around, and that's why it is really important to interview a couple different people and see who you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. No, so slightly off the subject, but being a divorce attorney and a single mom, which I know you are like me, I'm sure a lot of people watching this, a lot of our audience is female, and they're going to be going, okay, how do people like Jennifer do this? How do people like Tiffany do this? I talk a lot about me, so we don't need to hear my version. but how do you do it all? You just moved into a new office, is that correct?
Yep, we're moving into a new office tomorrow, this weekend, so that's pretty exciting. Absolutely. But yeah, in terms of doing it all, I absolutely do not do it all. I try really hard. And I don't think there's ever been a day that I felt like absolutely everything is under control, but I'm not sure I ever felt like that even when I was married. So I don't know, you know, I think that's part of life. What I try to do, and I try to kind of make clients feel better about this, is just knowing that it doesn't need to be perfect, and that in terms of, you know, if your kids eat pizza too many nights in a row, or you know, these things laundry hasn't gotten done in a while, those kind of things, that's not what makes great kids into great adults, you know. And in fact, to a certain degree, letting them have a little bit of an ability to get along by themselves. I mean, obviously age appropriate. We don't want to leave a 4-year-old at home with, you know, no food, but to leave a 16-year-old at home longer than you used to is okay. And I think that's really important, is for people to take the pressure off of themselves that everything has to be perfect, and give themselves a break. But, you know, at the same time, we are all struggling. We're all trying to get through life. Sometimes times in our lives, whether it's while you're divorced or before divorce, or when your kids are young, or your kids are older, we all go through those periods of time. And it is, you know, it's part of life. And to the extent you could enjoy it and make fun of yourself, I think that's important too. But one thing I have to say is, it's really important that, as for anybody on the planet, but I think especially as a single mom, that we take time to do something for ourselves, something fun for ourselves, even if it's just a little bit of, you know, reading a different kind of book at night, or listening to different podcasts, or every once in a while going on a trip. I mean, I know it's really hard to think about that because we're all so busy, but just these little things. And you know, sometimes, I mean, I have friends in town who have little scooters, little Vespa scooters. I'm thinking about buying one right now. And we go out, out on the weekend and ride them around, and, you know, and I'm on the back and we're honking and waving at people. And it's not taking a whole lot of time out of my day, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And I have a group of girlfriends that I love, you know, even if we're not going out, just having over, and we listen to 80s music and dance around the house. And it could be one of the most fun nights, and that's not it doesn't take that much time out of my life. Yeah.
I think that's where people go wrong sometimes. They think that me time or us time or juggling everything requires, like 4-hour block. But you're right. You can take, 10 minutes a day and use it for meditation, or 10 minutes to listen to your favorite, whatever it is, Ellen episode or podcast or whatever.
Right.
You can do a million little things. And in fact, what happens to most people is when you start to take time and you carve it out for yourself, you start to feel better, and you actually start to rearrange the rest of your time to actually have more time. Because I think we get buried under this kind of, like what you were saying before about parenting guilt, and everything has to be perfect, and there's no time for me, and you're trying to do everything. But when you really actually let some of it go, you actually do have more time. You feel better when you spend time on yourself, and you actually become a better parent going through divorce, a better, entrepreneur, a better lawyer, a better whatever I do. And,
oh, absolutely. I believe in that so wholeheartedly, because, in this, you just reminded me of something. I know I really, really struggled with, my own parents approving of my getting a divorce. And once, I got my mother on board for a while, and I think my father struggled with it a little bit. And once I actually got divorced, we were all out for a big dinner. There were a bunch of us at the table, relatives, my aunt, my cousins, my mom and dad, my kids. And, we were all having fun and making fun of each other and laughing and having one of those really fun family dinners. And my dad said, "Wow, I didn't realize, but it's been so long since I've heard you laugh like that." So that is, it's like, wow, that is, that's more important. You're happy when you're out laughing and having a good time. And I know that's a huge piece for our kids. So even in terms of being a better parent, so that you're there, you're present when they're there. I think also it's being a better parent by example.
Modeling, kids, so important.
Yeah. We want them to become self-confident and happy adults. And, and again, it all has to do with where your kids are and how old your kids are at different levels. But being a happy person, being happy with your life, being able to let things go. I mean, being able to say to your kids, it's okay that you didn't, you didn't get up at 5 a.m. and run 5 miles and then go skiing all day and then come back and do homework. It's okay that you had a lazy day. I think that's really important. I mean, we're not supposed to be measured by millions of things that we get done. It's important to.
No, absolutely.
It's important to be happy.
I know it is, and you can't put a price on that. I say often, Dreamsrecycled and I, we don't advocate divorce, but we do advocate.
Right, I don't advocate.
Yeah, but we do advocate being happy, because that is what you model in front of your children every day. And if you're modeling misery and sadness and sorrow and not, doing anything, that's not good for you. It's not good for your children. It's not even good for your spouse.
No, so. And that brings up a good point, because I do think that, so I think that when you first are trying to decide whether or not to get divorced, you're typically not super happy. That's not really how you would describe yourself, as being happy during that transition time. And so sometimes I think that stops people. Am I always going to feel like this? And one thing that got me through, which I try to tell my clients, it was trying to picture everybody 2 years down the road happy. All the kids, my ex-husband, myself, everybody just being happy, because picturing it in 3 months and 6 months doesn't seem real. And it probably, it's a tough road for everybody. But I am 2 years past my divorce now, and everybody really is happy. But being able to hold on to that image, just like all the visualization that we read about and to be able to visualize that, picturing everybody there, and then we, especially as moms, but I think, as dads too, we have a hard time being happy if we don't feel like our kids are happy. So being able to kind of picture it like that,
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and it takes a while, right? Like you said, you can't expect a 20-year marriage to everyone be happy 3 months later. It took 20 years for you to get to that divorce point, and it's going to take you months, years, whatever your timetable is, to really recover and heal and get to the thriving part, not just the surviving part. But we do get there. Like you, like me, like, you know, all our clients, we get there in the end. And like you said, if you hold on to that vision of the end goal, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I try to bring to my clients, and I'm actually trying to put something together a little bit more formally going forward, but I really like the phrase independently owned and operated. And, you know, I found something one day that said, instead of single, I prefer independently owned and operated. And I talked about this with my sister, who is married. She's been married more than 20 years. And she said, well, I'm independently owned and operated too. So I was like, yeah, you are. So I feel like looking at who we are as a person, just in general, being able to support ourselves getting there. And that is, to me, that is the final goal, but it's not a goal. There's not one day when we feel like that, but being able to have that what you're moving towards all the time is just feeling like you're a whole person. You don't need to be with somebody. Of course, we all, I mean, I think it's important to be in interpersonal relationships, but knowing that you're responsible for your own happiness, you're responsible for your own choices, you're responsible. That's what we all want to teach our kids. And I know that's one of the most difficult parts during divorce, the beginning of divorce, deciding whether or not to get divorced. And, it's one of those things that it's one of the things I think makes me different, is having the compassion and then really trying to get people there, rather than trying a scorched earth approach where we're just going to fight and, guns blazing, and we're going to get whatever we want. Because at the end of the day, then you leave people with ashes, and you're still a family, whether or not you want to believe it or not. You have an ex-husband, an ex-wife. You've got children now with 2 different homes. You'll always be a unit. I mean, even, I suppose it's a lot different if you didn't have kids together. But there's
with kids, divorce. Divorce is forever.
It is. Yeah. So bringing people to that feeling of, okay, that's who I want to be. I really want to inspire people to be independently owned and operated.
I love that. And that's a great thing to kind of wrap up on. So, you know that we always ask people random questions at the end.
I know.
And I know you love it.
I know you asked me something about which Avenger would I want to be last time, and I begged you to ask a different question because I can't answer that one. So please don't answer me that one.
Well, this one you're going to be better at. So if you could have any talent, what would it be?
Okay, if I could have any talent, it would be to actually have a decent singing voice, because I love driving and singing. I have a ukulele that is I do not know how to play it very well, but I can sing loud enough that you can't tell that I don't know how to play it. Growing up, I got my bad singing voice from my mother, but my sister has a beautiful singing voice. Aww. And my dad doesn't sing loud enough even though we're the Loud family. That's my last name, is a Loud family, but I couldn't tell you if he has a good singing voice or not. But when we were in church growing up, my mom and I would be belting out these hymns completely off key, and my sister would pretend that my sister thought we were pretending and doing it on purpose, and she'd get really mad. We're like, hey, that's kind of good.
I'm pitch deaf. I cannot understand.
Pitch Perfect. Yes, and I love all the Pitch Perfect movies. I always wished that I actually could sing. And I think I told you that I love having friends over, listening to music, singing. I actually
karaoke.
I actually have 3 Mr. microphones, and when people come over, we pass them out, we turn them on, we sing. And one night we even brought them on the road. And this, I'm not talking about being drunk and going out to the bars. We did this, you know, just 3 friends of mine. We went out with our Mr. Microphone. I don't know. I like singing and I'm horrible at it. So I wish I had a better voice.
Well, what you lack in talent, maybe you make up for in passion, right?
And volume.
Yeah, volume. Wow.
I make up for it in passion and volume for sure.
Too funny.
Yes.
Okay. If you were on a desert island, what 3 things would you take that you couldn't live without?
And I can't count food and water.
No.
That's really hard. I have no idea. I suppose maybe since I just said maybe I'd want my Mr. Microphone, but I suppose it would die pretty soon.
I was going to say, or music, it sounds.
It would have to be music. But I suppose, a lot. Can I bring a person? I mean, I don't know who. Probably be my sister, but she wouldn't probably want to be away from her family. She wouldn't appreciate it, but I sure would like to hang out with her. Now I sound like a horrible parent. I suppose I should bring both children first. Okay, both my children.
Bring one. Now you've got your sister. You can only bring one.
You only have one left. Let's see.
Okay, I'll let you bring them both.
Can I get off the hook on that one? I guess Wilson. Like if I'm gonna follow. What was that movie?
Funny. Castaway, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like a volleyball where I can put a bloody handprint on. That's Maybe a boat. Oh my God. I feel like might be one of those trick questions. I think I'll bring a boat so that eventually when I'm ready to leave.
Okay. Okay. And the last one, what app can you not live without as a female entrepreneur?
What's an app? No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I'd like to answer that by saying I cannot live without paper. I am still a paper person, and I am trying really hard to do electronic calendar because it's the best way to manage it. You can't always have your paper, but I honestly cannot remember appointments unless I write them down. The process of writing helps me remember.
Well, and that's true. That's scientifically true.
The
process of writing down.
So I stray away from the apps because it's too, it's too constricting, but I'm trying to open myself up to.
Well, I was going to say, you can be like me. So I am actually very similar to you. I like I like writing everything down.
Right.
Notes, lists, calendar. But
we're tree killers.
Yeah. A few years ago, I made myself do both. So I have like a paper calendar on my desk and I write it on there. And then I also put it on my phone.
I'm trying to do that too. I'm trying to do that too.
So we'll get there in the end.
Live without? Is there an app is there an app I should be using?
Well, there's lots of good apps. It depends what you're doing. I mean, social media, I love Canva. It's a good graphics. It makes posters, graphics, flyers.
I have that. I do like that one.
Because I'm secretly a little bit artsy, not very much, but
I love that. And you're right. I love all this social media. Okay, I'm going to take yours. I like
Canva. Okay.
Like LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and
and I like LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been very good to me. And did we meet on LinkedIn? I've met.
I think so.
Well, yeah, LinkedIn.
No, I think we met through Vicky. I can't.
Oh yeah, through Vicky. Yeah.
We're old friends. We met on the, video chat.
Well, I'm going to come to Denver soon just to annoy you, and we're going to sing. And
really?
We'll have a contest on who sings worst. And
all right, I'll go get a couple scooters and some microphones, and we'll have a really fun time.
Oh, okay. Well, Jennifer, you have been a fabulous guest. Thank you very much for joining us today. Where can people find you? Yeah, where can they find you?
Okay, they can right now. I am called the Cherry Creek Law Group in Denver. I am the only person called Jennifer Loud, Loud. So sometimes that's easier for people to remember because I'm not quiet. And my website is www.jenniferloud.com. And my telephone number is 303-495-1123.
Okay, awesome, Jennifer. Well, thank you so much. And if you missed any of her contact information, it'll be in the links under, if you're listening on iTunes, YouTube, whatever you're listening to, just look underneath, you'll see all the links. But thank you so much, Jennifer, and I wish you much luck with your new offices and your business.
Thanks, Tiffany. It was good talking to you again.
Thanks, Jennifer. Bye.
Okay, bye.